Is he a bull? Is he a bear?
He's just a guy on X.
I am just a guy on X, but I have answers. Answers to your question of why does Mullen Automotive keep dropping in share price when there is good news. And this is from Stomping Llama. He says, less than a week since Mullen settled with their creditors to allow them to convert their notes into freely tradable shares without need for registration. The creditors have purchased $4.4 million more of the same notes. Smells of collusion to bypass registration requirement. And of course, he is talking about the 8K that dropped on December 12th, and it talks about the extra $4.6 million worth of shares that they decided to buy again. And it does look fishy. It looks fishy because they just settled the case because Mullen couldn't come up with those shares to pay them, and now they're buying even more. It makes no sense whatsoever. The court settlement was on December 6th, and on December 12th, you have the creditors buying more of the same shares that they had to sue Mullen to receive. Now, the only good thing about that is that what they're doing is bypassing the SEC in order to get those shares without having to register them. Now they're buying more. What do you think is going to happen in another 4 months when those shares also now come to maturity? Whether Mullen gets the registration on the S1 or not, they can just take them to court again and they get more shares. Stompin' Llama goes on to say, surely this is a candidate for one of his signature unregistered broker-dealers crusades. And in the case of Isusa Michael Walks, a barred broker should be a slam dunk for Mark. And he's talking about Mark Basile. Mark Basile, if you remember, came on about a year ago and said he was going to oversee the agreements made so that Mullen doesn't get screwed over anymore, and that they do away with dilutive funding, and that Mullen is now going to participate in clean capital. Well, it looks like to me that everything Mullen is doing has to do with dilution. Because since Mark came on board, not only was that right before the 1-for-25 reverse stock split, but after that, half a year later, they did another one, the biggest reverse stock split ever for 1-for-100, and that was under Mark's watch. And now you got a whole lot of dilution happening under Mark's watch. What the hell is Mark Basile doing? So if you're holding Mullen stock thinking that it's going to come back because there's a lot of good news coming out, the Bollinger News, other PRs, nothing is ever going to help Mullen increase in price because of the dilutive funding that they're doing, and it just seems to be all of the same. And it looks really shady, especially when they're being sued for not being able to come up with the shares, but then after the court orders them to be able to sell shares without having to be registered and no restrictions on the way they sell them, now they come back and get even more. And some people are starting to see. The biggest supporters of Mullen are starting to see now. Mullen Moon says, try looking from the other side. It's going to be an upward spiral soon. And Jay, the person that I'm talking about, the biggest supporter of Mullen, is finally speaking up. He says, please stop. Just stop. I don't mind you loving the stock. I do. I love the company. I think David Michery has been and is destroying the company. Rose-colored glasses doesn't help the price. We need to look at it seriously. We're at 156. What do we do under $1? Pray? And of course, right now the price is actually a lot lower. It is at around 145 or so, and it's under 150. That's a key point. I think from here it's gonna drop to about $1.15 pretty quick. But that's not all that Jay had to have. At another post from Mullen Bull, he replies, that's funny. The only storm I see is the downward spiral of the stock price of Mullen. In another reply, he says, a big thank you from all of your retail investors who have given and lost so much, and you who have given so little. And he's talking about David Michery. So what is Mullen to do now? Now that even the biggest supporters are starting to question what is going on. Why is the price still dropping? You have news of selling vehicles. You have PR of more partnerships coming, and the price just keeps dropping. Well, it's not the PRs that you have to look at. It's the 8Ks. It's the SEC filings. You have to look at that. What is really going on? Because what you're getting from Mullen PRs and what you're getting in those full filings is completely different. In fact, for a while now, it seems like Mullen is only using the PRs to cover what is really coming out in the filings. And what is coming in the filings is much more damning than anything positive that they post in their PRs and their page, because they know that if they actually shined a light on the filings that they have, if they posted anything about that, it would show how truly in trouble they are with their financials. But not only, it would show us how shady David Michery is in making deals with the same people that are taking them to court and suing them over unpaid shares, and now they're making more deals with the same exact creditors, buying more of the same shares that they couldn't pay in the first place and they were taken to court for. But they'll come up with posts like this one, and this one was from just a day ago. It says, "Deck the halls with electric cheer. Wishing you a joyous holiday season from our commercial vehicle assembly facility in Tunica, Mississippi." And of course, this is a post from last year because they don't have anything going on this year. I don't even think they're doing anything because they laid off so many people. So how can you spread cheer when you're laying off workers? They don't have a job just before the holidays. And try spreading that cheer to investors who have lost so much money in this stock since its inception, since they bought in 2 years ago on promises that were never kept. Also, try to spread cheer to Jay, one of your biggest supporters still, after so many walked away from the stock because nothing ever came that David promised. Fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice, shame on me. Well, we've got David Michery going for a record. He's already got 4 reverse stock splits in less than 2 years. And I think that if this keeps up, he's going to go for a 5th. There's no way that he can stay listed without another reverse stock split, as these lenders are allowed to sell without restriction. It's not easy to come to the realization that you've been duped, but sometimes you just have to face the facts. I did. I was a supporter of Mullen, but I realized what was going on. And when asked why I'm doing these types of videos, trashing the company, I'm not trashing the company. I'm merely stating facts that will help others be a little more cautious when investing in this company.